All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, 9 a.m., Friday, November 14th, right here on Jocks. Going to continue talking some of the games that we have been on here in the first portion of the show, but we're going to do it now with Dusty Dvorak of ESPN and SiriusXM. Dusty, before we get into the ins and outs of some of these games, we had a lengthy conversation a little bit earlier on Alabama's rushing attack. And there are a lot of Alabama fans very frustrated with this. But we kind of turned it big picture as into, is that really going to prevent them from winning a national title? Because how many teams are dominant in the run game that are towards the top of the college football playoff rankings or even knocking on the door of those rankings? And then there also doesn't seem like there's a ton of teams that you could just dominate with a good run game defensively towards the top of college football right now. Where are you on Alabama or other teams having to be dominant in the run game in order to win a national championship this particular year?
Good morning, boys. Always great to be with you. It's a great question, Cole. It's hard for me, and I don't know about you, but just that's kind of where we live, right? And you just that line of scrimmage and just understanding what that means and to be able to have balance. Ohio State doesn't run it great. To your point, now I just had Georgia last week. I think Georgia's actually doing a pretty good job in the run game. I think that is a very balanced team. Um, you know, I think at some point you have to be able to run it some. I mean, I do. It's just, and maybe it's because it's been beaten in my brain for so long. I don't think you have to be a top five rushing attack, but I think that there's situations where you've got to take some pressure off your quarterback, off Ty Simpson. You've got to be able to line up and get a 3rd and 2 when a defense knows you're coming at them. So I don't think you have to be dominant in the run game, but I do think when situations present themselves, I do think you have to be effective, or at some point, I think it potentially is dangerous for you. Now, it's a team that went into Athens, Georgia, and beat a very good football team. And so, like, it's you really look at it, that's probably the best win anybody has in the country right now. So to say that this team can't win a national championship, I'd probably be foolish in saying that. But I do think that there will be spots and there will be moments where they're going to need to run the football, and I would say that for any team.
How would you assess the line of scrimmage play for the Tide? Not just offensively, but defensively. Where do you think they're at right now?
I thought last week watching them against LSU. Now it's not a great LSU offensive line, but I think that I've been impressed, honestly, with the defensive front. I think that they've done a decent job. I know their numbers aren't where they want them against the run, and their numbers aren't where they want them running the football, and those have kind of just been historically staples of Alabama defenses. The ability to stop the run, but I think that they've been solid. What I can't quite put together, and maybe Cole can help me with this, the individual parts, especially offensive line wise, I mean, they're great. I mean, I think it's one of the best centers in the country. Most people will tell you it's the most talented left tackle in the country. I think a couple of really physical guards, like components there that would tell you. I mean, it's why I picked them to win the SEC before the season, was the offensive line. I thought that this had a chance to be one of the best offensive lines in the country, and they just haven't been that. So I'm not completely selling on them because I do think the talent is there, but collectively, I don't think that they've played up to their full capability. Will they be able to do that, against a really good Oklahoma front they're going to face this weekend? They're going to need to. They're going to have their hands full. We'll see our Mason Thomas's health, Jaden Jackson, both those guys on the injury report is questionable, and those are two key pieces of their front. But I do think that that Oklahoma is going to challenge them immensely here this weekend. But no, I mean, I don't think that they've been awful up front, but I don't think that they've fully maximized the talent and the potential they have up front. But I personally, I think on the other side, I mean, I think that they've been been pretty solid, to be completely honest. So, any reason why Cole, why the overall group hasn't played as well as the individual talent on the Alabama offensive line?
It is an interesting case study, Dusty, and I think it's because I agree with you. I think Parker Brailsford could be the best offensive lineman in the country. When you just weigh all of the things that he does well compared to what everybody else at his or other offensive line positions do well, I might put him above everybody else. That doesn't mean he's going to be the first one drafted or even a first-round pick, but just I think he does more things well than any other offensive lineman in college football. There are others that have individual flaws. They've been a little dinged up at times. I mean, Dewberry hasn't always been 100% this year. They've had to roll guys in and out. Right tackle's been a bit of a revolving door. But I think we're looking at the perfect litmus test of continuity at that position and where it is in today's college football. Where just because you have 5 guys that are good doing certain things doesn't mean they're always going to operate well together. And when you have, a newer offense for some of those with newer guys next to them, it just doesn't always work. And I'll say this, it's not always on those guys. I mean, I've seen numerous plays where the back's front side track is there and the ball's just cut back too early. Or maybe the ball goes north and south a little bit too early. Vision, patience, I think sometimes with the running backs hurts them a little bit. It's not a massive problem, but you can't turn guys free. And I think, too, some of the stuff that they're doing option-wise with the quarterback of throwing into screens, letting him keep the ball sometimes on his own read, some of the RPO stuff, like you're turning some defenders free that should respect other things that can happen, and on individual plays they just don't. And then they end up making those plays on occasion. So it's collective, honestly. It's not – I don't think you can look at the offensive line and say that's the sole reason they can't run the football. But if we're just talking about that group, Dusty, I think we're looking at a perfect example of where we are in today's college football, of just they haven't done it together for 2 or 3 years. And the cohesion is not where it needs to be for what you're going to have with a great offensive line.
Cohesion matters. It's this. I'm gonna say something, and I know Greg knows it, but that is a group that you are dependent upon one another, and you work in unison. And whether it's twists or blitzes or the stems that right there pre-snap, things change, the picture changes, and understanding how you work together, how you play off of those things is so important. And it's something they haven't been on the same page all season, and that's going to be a challenge this week, guys. Because Greg, and I know both you guys know this, you study it so well, but that's what Oklahoma does. They will line up and play some base, but a lot of inside twists and their run stunts. We call them tons or knots, where the tackles first, nose over the top, or the nose is first, tackles over the top. They do a lot of that as part of their run defense. They're going to move. They're going to show one thing, and then they're going to give you another thing. And so I would say that cohesion or lack thereof, Cole, it's going to be challenged and tested tomorrow afternoon as much as they have been all season.
I want to ask you a question about that. And I don't know if you've gotten an answer for this or had a conversation about this. And I've said this all year, and now my thought on the way I describe this Oklahoma defense in almost every game they play is, as long as they don't bring the Texas game plan into this game, they have a chance to be successful. Why were they so static against Texas? Why did they refuse to be aggressive and refuse to move against Texas? I think it cost them the game. But that's the only game this year that they have not been what you just described. And I have no semblance of any sort of reason as to why that is.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I wish I did. I don't know if it was, hey, we feel like we're just going to line up and beat them, kind of straight up, because it wasn't. And it really didn't bite them, I didn't think, that much until the second half. And I thought, good on Sark, made some good adjustments, and they were able to find success, especially running the football. I thought Wisner had a lot of success against them down the stretch in the second half of that game. But I don't know, because that is who they are. That is what Bert Venables wants to be. And, these guys have had a lot of success playing that style so far this season. So I'm excited to see. I would imagine you're going to get that game plan. You're going to get guys moving around. A couple of guys that I would highlight, 44 Taylor Wine. I don't know how much you guys have talked about him this week. I don't know how much SEC people know about him, but he's going to be a household name in college football by next year. This guy is, I think he's the most improved player on Oklahoma's team. And R. Mason Thomas gets so much attention, and there's a lot of the defensive tackle room is really deep, and David Stone and Dominic Williams and Grayson Holton and then obviously Jaden Jackson, who's been starting since his freshman year. But Taylor Wine, I think, is a game wrecker. He's a long, big defensive end. He's 270 plus. They can condense him down a little bit in that move stuff. He'll get on a guard. But he's been very disruptive, very productive for this defense. And I think if R. Mason Thomas is out, look for him to be a guy that's going to provide potentially some real punch. They've got Marvin Jones Jr., the Florida State transfer, that's been solid this year. And I think he'll still be able to provide some depth there at edge. And then 38, Owen Heineke. He's been one of my favorite players on this Oklahoma team. I played with his uncle. His uncle was a former walk-on on the national championship team back in 2000. And he's kind of like his nephew. Owen Heineke, he was playing lacrosse at Ohio State a couple of years ago. And I just think that his motor and the way he times up his blitzes, they use him a lot in blitz packages off the edge, in between the tackles, and just a guy that's kind of got a knack and a nose for the football, always around the rock. And I think those would be two guys that, again, as Alabama fans are watching this one, if they see 44 and 38, golly, where's this guy coming from? Well, he's been a couple of guys that have been doing that all throughout the season. And just from the move stuff you talk about, Cole, those are two guys in particular that found a lot of success moving around and the opposite of staying static, being very aggressive when Brent Venables calls their number.
I do want to ask you about your game in a second, but before I do, you are on the call this weekend for South Carolina A&M. But before I do, I just want to get the temperature from the Oklahoma fan base on John Mateer. Is it started out with a bang? I mean, he could do no wrong, and then it's kind of come back to earth a bit. There was some progress made, I feel like, against Tennessee. But where's kind of everybody at on the offense and what he's done?
I mean, I think everybody's still kind of holding their breath and hoping that he can resurface as that player you saw the first couple of weeks of the season. I think most notably that Michigan game, because he really has not been that player since. I thought he showed glimpses in the second half in Knoxville, and then he throws that pick with 4 minutes left. First of all, why are you throwing the football when you're up in that spot with 4 minutes to play? I cannot. I guess it's an RPO, and he decided to throw it. But to me, that's a give it. Put a give it call in that. You're not letting the quarterback even make a decision to throw the ball in that spot, in my opinion. But he's had some real accuracy issues since the thumb surgery. Now, he doesn't blame the thumb, but it's tough to not look at it and say what's going on there. I don't think he's been seeing the field great. And you know this, Greg, confidence is very important in all positions, but probably none more than that. I think he lost his confidence a little bit. The shaky, rusty game against Texas and even South Carolina in the win, he didn't play that great and then struggled against Ole Miss, was really outshined by Trinidad Chambliss. And I thought it was really important to bounce back and have a couple of really good drives on the road. You saw him, I thought he had some of his swagger back. I thought he got some of his confidence back. And the biggest thing, I think, is that he got back to run the ball. He had 80 yards rushing in that game, the most he's had all season, similar to the success he had against Michigan. And I'm sure you guys have these numbers, but, Alabama has given up more yards per rush on design quarterback runs than anybody in the SEC. And I just have to think that that's going to be a way that they try to get that confidence further and continue that confidence with Mateer and try to utilize him as a runner. But I think the jury's still out, and see how they finish the season, to answer your question directly there, Greg, because I can tell you there was, after that Ole Miss game, I would say as high as everybody was after Michigan and Auburn, it was kind of equally as low after that loss against Ole Miss, and I think now everybody's just kind of waiting to see how Mateer finishes. And I think it'll be interesting if he can go into Tuscaloosa and get a win. Everybody's going to be loving John Mateer come Monday in Norman, Oklahoma.
Give us some of your thoughts on your game. How can South Carolina find a way to keep that thing competitive?
Well, Norris Sellers got to play better, boys. And we could talk about around him. It's an offensive line it's not very good, and they give up a lot of pressure, and they don't run it well, and they don't really have a true number one. Nick Harbor's trying to be, but he's not really that. Like, they don't have the piece around him aren't that great. But like, Lenoris is holding on to the ball too long. When he does have time, guys, he's missing open receivers. I mean, he's got opportunities there that he's not taking advantage of. So first and foremost, he's got to play better. Like, there's still people that want to tell me he's a first-round pick. Well, I think he's a great talent, but he hasn't played like a first-round quarterback this season. So I think that's one aspect. Mike Shula was let go. Mike Furry is going to be the play caller for this game. They're really trying to do as much as they can, what gets Lenoris comfortable, what's going to build some of that confidence. And I think that's probably the biggest factor in this game is that he plays well. He hasn't impacted many games as a runner. And when there's opportunities there, you got to make your layups. And if there's open receivers, you got to hit your target. And I think if Lenoir Sellers can do that, it's going to give them a chance. They haven't been really blown out by anybody this year. They've been pretty competitive in most of their games. And so I'll be intrigued coming off a bye. Coach Beaver said he's still got the team. And I think it's a defense that scraps, man. I think they're gonna do their best to deal with an A&M offense that, guys, I got to tell you, as I watch this A&M team, there ain't many holes offensively. I love the O-line. I would imagine they're going to be a finalist for the Joe Moore Award. You want to talk about working in unison. This group works incredibly well together. They got a stable of running backs, even with Moss out. I mean, Ruben Owens has been really good for them. And that 1-2 punch at receiver and Concepcion and Craver, they're going to challenge anybody with that speed and the ability with the ball in their hands. And Marcel Reed, a lot of criticism of him going into the season. And, boy, he's silenced a lot of critics. He's played very well. He's doing a better job, being more consistently accurate. And, we talk about sudden and dynamic with the football. That's what he is. So it's a South Carolina defense that has their hands full, because I can go on and on about this Aggies offense. I got to tell you, too, I think Colin Klein should be talked about more for some of these jobs. I look at the Oklahoma State job. If I'm Oklahoma State, I don't know how I'm not looking at Colin Klein, a guy who played at Kansas State, and what he's doing right now. I think he's really impressive. But South Carolina's almost a 3-touchdown underdog. It's going to take a really big effort, and probably Texas A&M making some big mistakes for them to come in and pull an upset at the number 3 team in the country. A&M's good. This is the best Aggies team that I've watched since I've been doing this. And I know you can look at the schedule and say they haven't beat anybody outside of Notre Dame. They've taken advantage of a favorable SEC schedule. That can be true, but it's also true that this is a complete football team that I think is as good as they've seen in College Station maybe ever.
A lot of balance on that team, both sides of the ball and on each side of the ball, balance and how they can be successful. Dusty, we appreciate the time, man. Great stuff. Thanks for hopping in. We'll do it again soon.
All right, boys. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your games.
There you go. Dusty Dvorak joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline, talking a little Oklahoma, Alabama. We'll give our final thoughts on that one a little bit later in the show. Come back with more on that A&M South Carolina game. Hadn't talked about Mississippi State, Mizzou. Is this a spot for Mississippi State to potentially make a little bit more noise? We'll discuss that one next right here on Jocks. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Glad you're with us here. Friday, November 14th at 9:24 a.m. A lot of different ways you can tune into the show online, jocksfm.com. You can watch live on YouTube. The app is in your app store. iPhone, Android, you can download that for free. And you can always tell your home smart speaker to enable the Jock skill.
Bill Smith Buick GMC is the GMC Dealer of the Year, the 8-time national champion. They've won 5 in a row. It's off the charts, the deals that you have when you go and check them out, like a GMC Sierra 1500 SLT 4x4, $67,770 is the list price. You can take $15,000 off that sticker. You can get it for $52,770. So go and take the short drive up to Coleman. You'll be glad you did. Right up I-65, exit 310, Highway 31. You can also shop online, have it delivered right to your driveway at BillSmithBuickGMC.com. It's the very best. 75% of their business is repeat customers. I'm a repeat customer. I think you'll experience the exact same feeling I feel when I go up and visit with Andy Cole and Jonathan Yeager and their incredible sales staff. So go and check them out up in Coleman, or you can shop online. You can also go and check them out online, like I said, but in Coleman's the best place to do it. That's where you can really see the vehicles. It's Bill Smith Buick GMC. They are professional grade.
All right, let's get to a couple other games around college football. UCLA is at Ohio State. That is 6:30 tomorrow night. Is there any shot that UCLA can keep this thing close? By the way, all-time series 4-4-1. First meeting since 2001 for UCLA and Ohio State. This will be Ryan Day's fourth 10-0 start at Ohio State, by the way. Most likely going to get it, but any way that you see UCLA being able to complicate this thing, GMAC?
I don't. I think it's going to be very tough. This is a really disciplined defense. UCLA, when they've had opportunities, been on quarterback designed run and or quarterback scramble and off RPO. I don't see it being very advantageous with their group right now, being able to consistently move the ball against that defense.
All right, Wisconsin's at Indiana. That's 11 a.m. tomorrow morning. Wisconsin 3-6. Indiana obviously 10-0. Second straight 10-0 start for Kurt Cignetti in Indiana. This is a tough front seven. Now, you and I have mentioned this a lot this year. They can give you fits up front. Wisconsin has. Fernando Mendoza, though, they don't have to lean on the run game all the time, and I think how he operates that RPO system and manipulates some of the linebackers, edge defenders, alley defenders will make life a little bit more difficult on Wisconsin. Does Indiana have their second consecutive dogfight late in order to get a win over Wisconsin?
Oh, I don't think it's going to be a dogfight. I think Wisconsin shot their shot last week. They beat Washington, obviously. I think Indiana, it will be in cruise control here. I don't see how Wisconsin will manufacture points.
If Wisconsin does go down, it'll be their first back-to-back losing season since 1992. They had losing seasons in 8 straight from 85 to 92. By the way, I had no idea it was that bad in that span. 10 straight losses to AP top 5 opponents for Wisconsin. Second longest streak in program history. They are 120-1 versus AP top 2 opponents in road or neutral site games all time. The outlook is not so good there with some of those things that we just pointed out. UCF is at Texas Tech, GMAC. UCF 4-5. Texas Tech, of course, 9-1. Number 6 in the nation. This is a 2:30 kick tomorrow. I don't really see a lot of ways for UCF to complicate this, specifically with Texas Tech being at home. Possible letdown after last week. Texas Tech has been great taking the ball away, scoring after they take the ball away. The defensive line is overly problematic. I don't think UCF has the offensive line to offset that, or really the offense to offset that. Is there a way you see UCF keeping this comfortable?
No. They're banged up. Running backs banged up. Quarterbacks banged up. Don't know their health and availability as of this moment. But I just don't think UCF's the type of team that can really stress Texas Tech on the ground. I don't think they'll hold up along the offensive line. So I don't know what you think, but I think Texas Tech rolls in this one. The only teams I could see giving Texas Tech problems are teams that can hold up in protection and can pitch the ball over the yard. Like, and they got to also be pretty good in the back end themselves and be able to rush the quarterback. So I don't like the matchup for UCF in this game.
No, I don't either. And they've also, by the way, lost 7 straight road games. So also doesn't equal a positive
So
showing
there's
there.
that.
Yeah, there's that too. Number 9, Notre Dame is at number 22, Pitt. We mentioned this game just a little bit earlier. Wanted to get final picks on it, though, as we roll into it. Notre Dame leads the all-time series 51-21-1. I just think the Irish kind of have things going on who they are right now. Now, I will say, outside of a couple of Jeremiah Love explosive runs, the offense hasn't been as consistent the last couple of weeks as you'd like to see it. But it doesn't mean that they're still not capable. And I think that front will be able to give Pitt some problems. You mentioned it earlier. I've watched a little bit of their offensive line. It's not great. I think Notre Dame will see that, know that. They'll take advantage of that. I think that's the difference. Because we talked about quarterback play that Pitt is getting and how it's pretty impressive considering you got the backup in there. I don't know about his time he's going to have to throw. I think Notre Dame wins the line of scrimmage when they're on defense and wins it when they're on offense. I'll take the Irish to win this game. I could see Pitt getting some scores, creating some explosives down the field, but I like Notre Dame to get the win.
Yeah, I like Notre Dame to get the win. I think Pitt covers, though. And I just think Pitt has enough offense. And I think they'll be smart enough to know that they can't hold up in protection. So they'll get the ball out, and they'll tell their quarterback to climb in the pocket, and they'll tell their quarterback to make sure he's smart with the football. Like, he's a freshman. He could get rattled for sure if he gets hit a couple times, but I haven't seen that part of him just yet.
Do you know when the last time these two teams met as AP-ranked opponents?
1978.
1991. Been a minute.
Was Pitt good in the 90s? I didn't know that. I thought they were like late 70s, early 80s. That's when Pitt was at their peak.
No, yeah, for sure. But they have had other runs in between that, but nonetheless. TCU at BYU. Does BYU bounce back?
Yes. I don't feel as confident about it as others, but I do think that BYU has a good formula for what the weather's going to be. And remember, it's a 9:15 Central Time kick for TCU. It's not like it's outrageously late, but that does have an impact on your body clock. And if them being almost exclusively pass, I think it's going to be hard for them to manufacture a lot of points in this game.
I would agree with that. Josh Hoover's still been good for TCU this year, and they can pitch it around. No doubt about that. They do give you the ball back, though, and I think that's the biggest problem. I think BYU takes advantage of those turnovers. I think they get to win. I like BYU to hold on to TCU, and BYU would get to 9-1 if they can do that. That's a 9:15 kick on ESPN, by the way. So 9:15, late kick there. You'll get that one tomorrow. Plenty more to get to. Plenty more games that we need to discuss. Before we do that, tell our listeners about Shannara Flooring.
Well, Fu and his guys have been stockpiling inventory for a while now. They have tons of that Core-Tech flooring by Shaw in stock, and they are going to pass that savings on to you because of how much inventory they've been able to accumulate. That Core-Tech flooring is that premium, durable, dependable flooring that has a 20 mil wear layer. It's built to last and priced to move, and nobody in town has the Core-Tech that Fu has. Savings of 20 to 40%. It's a deal that you just can't touch. So remember Shannara Flooring. When you want Core-Tech, call who? Call Fu. Call Shannara Flooring at 205-518-6423 or go online to fooandyou.com.
All right, when we come back into the SEC, final picks for Alabama and Oklahoma. Obviously, final picks for Texas and Georgia, as well as other games inside the SEC right after this on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, 9:36, Friday, November 14th, here on Jocks. Listen online, jocksfm.com. You can watch live on YouTube every day. Search Jocks945 to watch the show there. We appreciate you guys doing that. Please subscribe. Please like. Getting into SEC games, questions you might have on some of these matchups coming up this weekend. 800-239-9569 if you want to get in. Tweet in at Mac and Cube. All right, so before we get to our Super Sofa game of the week and maybe a bad box score of the day, in our next segment, we'll give you our final picks on a couple of these games coming up this weekend. South Carolina, Texas A&M, we've mentioned it, 11 a.m. on ESPN tomorrow morning. A&M leads the all-time series 9-2. This is a trinket game, by the way, so let's not forget about that when we're talking about the importance of this game.
Don't ever forget about that.
What it means in the grand scheme of college football lore. This is a trinket game. Do we ask winner loser here, or do we just ask cover? How do you see this one playing out?
I just do not have a lot of confidence in South Carolina. Like, I think if this game's at home, different conversation. However, it's on the road. So I think it's going to be really hard for them to maintain. So if for whatever reason you catch A&M on an off day, sure, I could see it maybe being tight, a little bit tight. But the tightest I could see it ever being is a couple touchdowns. I'd lay them here against South Carolina.
They'll play for the Bonham Trophy.
Okay.
It is named for South Carolinian hero James Bonham of the Battle of the Alamo. Statue created by Jeff Godfrey depicts Bonham on a bucking horse, and the winning state's governor receives possession of it until the next game. It was created in 2014 through an initiative by then Texas Governor Rick Perry and South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley. It's named for James Butler Bonham, South Carolina native, who was also a hero at the Alamo. So there you go.
A little extra juice.
The original trophy is permanently housed at the Alamo in San Antonio. Why didn't I know that? I had so many chances to go see it.
You fasted a couple
that
times.
feels like something you're going to have to do in the spring.
You're wrong. If I do it, it's going to have to be at the end of December, like on the 31st, because there will be no more UFL in San Antonio.
Oh, no.
They had Kellen Mond at quarterback. You see what happens.
Whole franchise gone.
Whole franchise gone.
So we'll see. I don't think that this one. I think South Carolina makes some plays, but I don't think they keep this competitive. This is not their style game. I understand the escapability of Lenore Sellers is going to be able to help him, but there's not going to be anything consistent. I think this offense. Now I will say this: if they come up with a sort of hybrid option-heavy quarterback read game plan, and by option I don't mean like triple option, like we're not talking the Murray leg days, but if they come up with some sort of a hybrid quarterback read option offense, Greg, that's a little heavier with the Sellers direct runs, I do think with the hyper aggressive defense you can get them out of place some and cause some problems. And misdirection has given A&M a little bit of trouble at times this year. So that would be the one way. And then two, just Dylan Stewart, Brian Thomas and company just winning their one-on-ones being problematic, because we've said it. Marcel Reed, there will be misses in every game. There will be. And Judge Collier, guys on that back end, are going to have to take advantage of it and probably get a couple of those to the house for this game to be competitive. Like you said, at home would make it totally different. But nobody thinks this game is competitive in the end? No. Just like that. Okay.
No.
Texas at Georgia. Go ahead.
I would feel much better about it if I knew what kind of effort I was going to get from South Carolina. I just don't know what to expect from them. Like, do they fold their tent like Florida did last week? I just don't know. That's the tricky part for me.
Right. Okay. Georgia can clinch a spot in the SEC championship game with a win and a Texas A&M loss to South Carolina. So that does not seem likely for both to take place this weekend. In their last two games, Georgia has 13 sacks against Texas, and Texas has been struggling against top 5 teams. They've lost 4 straight to top 5 teams. Greg, their last win against a top 5 team was?
I'm going to say Bama, 2 years ago.
2023. That would be it.
Oh, wow.
Let's go.
So
Let's go.
that was the last time that took place. Kirby Smart 2-0 against Steve Sarkisian. I'm actually going Georgia in this game, and I think the main reason that I'm doing it is their balance offensively. I think that they have enough going their way to where they're not going to let the best Texas defenders impact this game as much as they would like to. I don't think you're going to see a whole lot of just straight drop back from Gunnar Stockton. I think you'll see some read plays on the defensive ends, edge defenders, with Stockton potentially keeping the ball, some screens out their direction to try to get them running out past the hash. I think they're going to try to wear that group down on the perimeter and not let them take over. I think there's a lot on film of what not to do against these edge defenders from Vanderbilt a couple of weeks ago that Mike Bobo can take and say, all right, we're going to steer clear of that. We're going to get the ball out quick. We're going to run at them. Then we're going to read them, and then we're going to make them run also. So you mix it up against those guys just a little bit, and I think they have success. And I just think the Georgia defense a little better than some people are saying. I mean, we're treating this defense like they've never gotten a stop. And it's not like the Texas offense has been lights out O'Reilly for 10 games this year. I mean, it's just 9 games. It's just not who they are. And I think that they'll still be disruptive, like I talked about earlier, an offense that relies heavily on slide protection, pull protection, the precision in which Georgia brings their pressure, they will be able to get home. I'll take Georgia to win at home.
I'm taking Texas.
Taking
I think
Texas.
they match up
we
really
already
well.
know. Yeah.
Yep. I think they match up well. I think they can handle it.
All right, Damian?
I'm going Georgia. Texas doesn't look like the usual Texas when they're on the road this season, and Georgia, I just think it's going to be too tough for them in Athens.
John?
I got to ride with Georgia till they've shown me that they can't win a game like this.
And I will say, there's a part of this for me. The last 2 times we've seen these teams play, it's kind of like Texas showed up to the fight and said, we want to see how rugged you are. And Texas has not been rugged enough. And I need Texas to prove that they can be that. And I don't know for certain that they can be that right now. That's one of my biggest issues with this game. So,
would you not agree that they were much more well-equipped, though, in the SEC title game than they were in the regular season, as far as the, quote, ruggedness?
It felt like they were closer, yes. Part of that probably knowing what to expect, knowing what you were going to get. But
right,
I still think there is an advantage for Georgia when it comes to that department. Quickly, 10-0 Tennessee Tech at Kentucky. Who gets the win?
I don't know enough about Tennessee Tech, but 10-0, you got my attention.
Yeah, there's only 5 undefeated teams in FCS. If anybody would want to take a guess at the other 4,
North Dakota State.
Mercer.
that's 1. No,
they lost. No,
South Dakota
North Dakota State is 1. South Dakota State is not 1.
South Dakota State lost to North Dakota State earlier.
Oh, that's right.
Western Carolina?
Harvard, Lehigh,
Lehigh,
and Montana.
Ah, the Grizz.
They've actually won 15 straight dating back to last season, too.
Ooh.
So
they're cooking.
just get ready. Keikoa Vispiris has 22 touchdowns this season.
You bet he does.
So be prepared.
Kentucky wins, but I think it's going to be a little bit closer than people expect.
Okay, we all think Kentucky wins, but I do ask this one with sincerity, guys. And GMAC, I'll start with you. Arkansas at LSU, 11:45 on the SEC Network. I mean, this one for me is like a literal coin flip game. Like I kind of have no idea what I'm going to get from either
Arkansas.
team.
Ooh, pig.
Arkansas.
If Arkansas can keep it under 15 penalties, I think they win. That's the difference. And they're on the road, so they probably won't.
What time is that kick again?
11:45.
11:45.
Yep, Death Valley going to be popping.
In
I'm
the
sure
A.
they're in a great spot. Lost 3 out of 4. Trinket game, though. Don't sleep on it.
I'm telling you.
It's a big, heavy trinket, too.
Big old
Giant
boot,
golden
baby.
boot
Big old
trophy.
trinket.
So
That big old boot.
I'm kind of with Greg here, man. Like, this whole Nussmeier thing against Alabama and being benched, like, I just don't know where that's going. I never thought that I would say that there's a team in the league in a worse spot than Arkansas, specifically after that Auburn game, but LSU might be that team now. I don't know where LSU is. That defense should cause a lot of problems against that Arkansas offense. which, by the way, I will, you know what, we'll do it on the other side. Speaking of Arkansas,
Oh, boy.
something that will probably blow your mind. Actually, I'm not going to say probably. I'm going to say it will. There was an Arkansas fan that pulled straight shenanigans on me earlier this week, and you are not going to believe how. I will tell you next on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Friday, November 14th, 9:50 here on Jocks. UNA is at Tarleton State this weekend. That's number 5, Tarleton State, by the way. Tomorrow night, 6 p.m. on ESPN Plus. And West Alabama, after having their game against Lincoln canceled last week, they've got Northeastern State at home at Terry Bunn Field at Tiger Stadium over in Livingston this weekend. Every week we give you one game. If we could only watch one across the entire weekend, which one would it be? It's our TD's Fine Furniture Super Sofa Game of the weekend, John, brought to us by TD's.
That's our friends at TD's Fine Furniture in Summerton. You could spruce up your home for the holidays with TD's Black Friday sale. Thousands of items for the entire home are marked down as much as 50%, plus pay no interest till 2027. The Black Friday sale is actually going on now at TD's Fine Furniture in Summerton.
There are a couple that I think could register for this and be feasible that have a lot of reasons for you to pay attention to, but I got to go Texas and Georgia just because Texas where a lot of people think they are. I need to be proven that they are there. And a lot of people are already putting them on that pedestal. I'm not sure they're back to that just yet. Georgia, I think certain aspects of their team aren't getting proper respect, mainly Gunnar Stockton in that offense. Mike Bobo, how he's operating it, don't think getting enough credit. Want to see if Texas physically is up to the challenge. They have some individuals that could take this game over, but is Georgia going to allow that? I think the Georgia offensive line continues to get a little bit better and better. The run game's going to be there. Texas, Georgia, 6:30 ABC, my TD's Fine Furniture Super Sofa game of the week.
Well done. I'll go to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, a little home cooking. Right down the road, 2:30 Central Time, the 11th ranked Oklahoma Sooners take on the Crimson Tide of Alabama. Alabama trying to get revenge off the performance last year that kept them out of the playoff, and a win this weekend essentially punches their ticket to the postseason. It's done. 99.7% chance of a playoff berth if Alabama's victorious on Saturday. So a massive opportunity and a massive game for the Crimson Tide, and also for Oklahoma. Their odds jumped 67% in victory. So huge implications. 2:30 Central Time here on ABC.
I'm going to the game right before you, Greg. Notre Dame travels to Pittsburgh to take on the Pitt Panthers. Ranked on ranked matchup. Can Pitt shake it up here in the college football playoff rankings? I'm going Notre Dame and Pitt at 11 a.m. on ABC for my TD's Fine Furniture Super Sofa game of the weekend.
Obviously, y'all chose all of the good ones, but a sneaky fun one that I'm going to take, 2:30 ESPN2, Virginia is at Duke. If you're one out there that wants chaos and wants to see watch the world burn, let Duke, who, by the way, is favored in this game, mess around and win it. Duke wins out. Yep. They are playing in the ACC championship game. They have 4 losses. They probably won't be ranked if they win out. And then ACC is looking at a doomsday scenario. But Virginia caught off a loss. An underdog on the road at 2:30. I think Virginia gets the win. But Virginia, Duke, 2:30 on ESPN2, where available, is my Super Sofa game of the weekend.
It is intriguing, like you said, John, because there are a lot of aspects of that one that will determine who plays in the ACC championship game. That has determining factors on the college football playoff. Where are you on that one, Greg, as far as how you think that one goes?
I do not love Duke, especially on defense. I think there's some struggles there, but I also have a lot of respect for Manny Diaz as a coach, and I think he'll cause enough disruption. I think it totally hinges on starting quarterback. If Chandler Morris can go, I lean Virginia. If he can't go, I lean Duke. But all signs right now pointing that he's actually going to be able to go.
All right. Shenanigans pulled on me. You know, the Joe Moore Award semifinalist came out earlier this week, and I usually get a lot of blowback. It's usually coming from Georgia fans or Alabama fans or Ohio State fans that they're not included. They want to be on there. Utah fans have been very vocal about it in the past. I got a 3-tweet response.
3?
For a post I was tagged in about the Joe Moore Award semifinalist from an Arkansas fan with rushing metrics and rushing yard metrics and PFF statistical numbers and grades about how I was a loser for not having Arkansas. Not that it's my choice individually, or not that the committee even mentioned a word about having Arkansas on for that list, and numerous plays that I could clip and show him of Arkansas offensive linemen being run over this year, but decided not to do that.
Oh, no.
Nonetheless.
Oh,
but the shenanigans pulled. I did not expect that from a Hog fan. But, yeah, we got it earlier this week. There we were.
So I need to see the list. Who all's on it?
We'll discuss it Monday since we're running out of town, because I wanted to give you a quick bad box score of the day, and that is the Ohio State Lady Buckeyes over the Bellarmine Knights last night. 90-33. Here's the best part of the worst part of it. Your score after one, 26-0.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
They shut them out for a quarter.
It happens.
Bellarmine shot 11 of 60. Now 4 of 19 from 3. 7 of 20 from the free throw line?
And that's where they lost. Could have cut into the deficit.
Whoa, they turned it over only 19 times.
Sub 33% of the free throw line is not great.
It's terrible.
If you're calling that game and they start like 3 of 12, do you quit calling it the free throw line?
Call it time of death.
The contested line.
Something. We're back Monday, 7 to 10, 3-man.